What if everything we think we know about Earth's stability is nothing more than a fragile illusion? We walk across the ground believing it will hold, we glance at the sky trusting it will remain calm, and we treat the vastness of space as though it were distant, irrelevant, and silent. But in recent years, cracks have begun to show in that comforting story, cracks that reveal a planet far more restless, unpredictable, and even mysterious than most of us are prepared to admit. The ground has been trembling in unexpected places, storms from the sun have surged with unnerving intensity, comets have streaked across the sky behaving in ways scientists still struggle to explain, and beneath it all, a deep and steady hum pulses through the Earth itself, audible not to our ear, but recorded by instruments designed to detect its strange, persistent presence. For centuries, people have tried to explain such phenomena. Our ancestors looked at the sky and saw omens in comets, gods in the earthquakes, and divine anger in storms that set the horizon on fire. Today we trade myths for data, measuring the tremors and recording the flares, yet our explanations are still incomplete. For every chart and model there remain questions science cannot answer. Why certain events cluster together, why signals appear without warning, why cosmic visitors behave in ways that defy predictions. And it is in those gaps between certainty and mystery that speculation grows, where imagination fills in the blanks, and where unsettling theories begin to sound less like fantasy and more like possibilities. This isn't just about natural disasters or passing anomalies, it's about a pattern that seems to be emerging, a pattern that suggests the Earth and the cosmos are bound in ways we are only beginning to glimpse. Are we witnessing the natural rhythms of a living planet? Or are we seeing signs of something larger, something beyond us? That is the question that lingers like a shadow over every quake, every flare, every glowing visitor from the void. And it's the question that will guide us as we uncover the untold connections between Earth, sky, and the mysteries that refuse to stay silent. The Earth beneath our feet has always been both our foundation and our greatest illusion. We treat it as immovable, solid, eternal, a stage upon which the drama of life unfolds. Yet history has shown, again and again, that the ground we walk on is not a stage at all, but a living force, restless, unpredictable, and capable of reshaping entire civilizations in the span of a few violent minutes. To understand this truth, one only needs to look at the sheer scale of destruction earthquakes have unleashed across history, and how even now, with all our technology, we remain powerless when the planet decides to remind us of its strength. Take, for example, the earthquake that struck Lisbon in 1755, an event so devastating that it changed the cultural and philosophical landscape of Europe. In a matter of moments, churches crumbled, fires swept the city, and a tsunami roared in from the Atlantic, leaving tens of thousands dead. The devastation was so complete that it shook not only the physical structures of Lisbon, but also the intellectual confidence of the Enlightenment. How could a supposedly rational, ordered universe permit such horror? That question echoed across Europe, sowing doubts that remain relevant centuries later. Lisbon was just one city, but the quake revealed a terrifying truth. Beneath the veneer of stability, the Earth is chaos waiting to erupt. Fast forward to the modern age, and the story is no different. In 2011, Japan was rocked by the Tohoku earthquake, a magnitude 9.0 event that unleashed a tsunami powerful enough to overwhelm seawalls, sweep away entire towns, and cripple the Fukushima nuclear plant. The images that followed, the dark wall of water racing inland, cars and homes tossed like toys, the glow of explosions from a power station designed to withstand the unthinkable, remain etched in memory as a testament to human fragility. This was not a distant event in ancient history, but a reminder that even the most advanced nation on Earth can be brought to its knees in an instant. And yet, the Tohoku disaster is just one of many in recent decades. Chile, Indonesia, Turkey, Nepal, each has felt the wrath of quakes so immense they seemed almost biblical. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami remains one of the deadliest natural disasters of modern times, killing over 200,000 people across multiple countries. That event began as a sudden release of tension, deep beneath the sea, invisible to the millions of lives above. In a matter of minutes, the water itself became a weapon, carrying waves taller than buildings across thousands of miles. Entire villages disappeared, and with them the illusion of safety. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of earthquakes is not their destructive power, but their unpredictability. Despite decades of research, billions invested in technology, and countless lives lost, humanity still cannot predict the exact time or place of the next major quake. Scientists can identify fault lines, measure strain, and estimate probabilities, but they cannot give warnings precise enough to save lives on a large scale. The Earth keeps its secrets well, rumbling without schedule, choosing its moments without warning. To live on this planet is to live under a silent contract. The ground may betray you, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. In recent years, this unpredictability has taken on an even stranger edge. Small tremors have been recorded in places long thought stable, from the heartlands of the United States to regions of Africa with no known major faults. Some are explained by human activity, fracking, mining, and groundwater extraction. But others defy simple explanations. In Oklahoma, for example, earthquakes have surged in frequency, some linked to oil industry practices, but others appearing without clear cause. Meanwhile, in places like Greenland and Antarctica, seismic activity has been tied to melting ice sheets, raising the unsettling possibility that climate change itself is awakening new kinds of geologic instability. The Earth is not static. It responds, shifts, and adapts, and sometimes those responses ripple violently through the surface we take for granted. Then there are the mysterious, slow quakes, seismic events that release energy not in seconds but over weeks or months. These quakes are often invisible to humans, felt only by instruments, but they can influence larger, more destructive events. Scientists are still trying to understand their significance, but the discovery of such hidden movements adds another layer to the unsettling picture of a planet alive with motion. The Earth is never still, even when it appears to be. And what of the so-called Earth hum, a persistent vibration recorded by seismologists across the globe? First identified decades ago, this low-frequency resonance is not caused by earthquakes, but seems to be part of the planet's natural background. Some link it to the ceaseless pounding of waves on the ocean floor, others to atmospheric forces, but the hum remains something of a mystery. It is as if the Earth itself has a pulse, a reminder that beneath the silence of our everyday lives, something vast is always stirring. The danger of earthquakes is not confined to the destruction they cause directly. They can set off chains of events that spiral far beyond the initial rupture. Quakes trigger landslides that bury villages, tsunamis that devastate coastlines, fires that consume cities, and infrastructure failures that ripple through societies for years. In a hyper-connected world, a major quake does not just destroy buildings, it disrupts economies, halts supply chains, and destabilizes entire regions. The ground may shake in one place, but its consequences are felt everywhere. And perhaps most unsettling of all is the idea that earthquakes might not always be isolated events. Some researchers have observed strange patterns, major quakes occurring in clusters, sometimes within hours or days of each other, even on opposite sides of the planet. These correlations are hotly debated, with many dismissing them as coincidence, but the possibility that Earth's crust may behave as a connected system adds a new dimension of fear. Could a quake in Chile trigger unrest in Japan? Could the ground beneath California respond to stress released halfway around the world? Science does not yet have definitive answers, but the very question suggests that our understanding of the Earth's power remains incomplete. For all our technology, all our progress, earthquakes remain one of the few forces we cannot outwit or control. They remind us that our skyscrapers, our bridges, our sprawling cities are built not on solid certainty, but on shifting ground. The Earth is restless, alive, and indifferent to our plans. And if the tremors of recent years have taught us anything, it is that this restlessness is not confined to ancient legends or faraway disasters. It is here, it is now, and it is only a matter of time before the next rupture arrives. And yet, as terrifying as this reality may be, it is only the beginning of the story, because while the Earth shakes from within, another danger comes from above, from the very star that gives us life. For when the sun turns volatile, it is not just the ground we must fear, but the skies themselves, and what happened next would shock everyone. If the ground beneath us represents one kind of danger, the skies above hold another, one that is equally capable of disrupting life in ways most people never think about. The sun, which we casually glance at during sunsets or shield ourselves from on hot days, is not a calm, benevolent star. It is a raging furnace of nuclear reactions, constantly spitting out streams of charged particles, plasma and radiation. We depend on it for light, warmth and life itself, but when it lashes out, The consequences ripple across our planet in ways that can be both beautiful and terrifying. Most of the time we take its stability for granted, but history has shown that the sun is anything but stable, and when it flares, it can turn our world upside down in seconds. Solar activity follows cycles, rising and falling roughly every 11 years. During peaks, known as solar maximums, the sun's surface erupts with sunspots, solar flares and coronal mass ejections, explosive releases of plasma and magnetic fields hurled into space at millions of miles per hour. When one of these events intersects with Earth, it slams into our magnetosphere, the invisible shield that protects us from most of the sun's deadly energy. Sometimes the magnetosphere holds steady, deflecting the storm. Other times the impact penetrates deep, stirring chaos in ways most of us never notice until the lights flicker, the internet slows, or planes are rerouted from their paths. The most famous example of the sun's wrath is the Carrington event of 1859, a solar storm so powerful it lit up the skies with auroras as far south as the Caribbean. Telegraph systems sparked and caught fire, operators received shocks through their equipment, and lines continued to run even after being disconnected from power. This was in the 19th century, long before satellites, power grids, or the internet. If a storm of similar magnitude struck today, the damage would be catastrophic, grids collapsing across continents, satellites fried, communication networks disrupted, and entire economies brought to a standstill. Some estimates suggest recovery from such an event could take months or even years, plunging parts of the world into chaos. And while storms of Carrington's scale are rare, smaller but still damaging events are not. In March 1989, a geomagnetic storm triggered by a coronal mass ejection caused the collapse of the Hydro-Quebec power grid in Canada, leaving millions in darkness for 9 hours. Airlines reported communication blackouts, satellites tumbled out of orbit, and auroras once again danced far beyond their usual latitudes. That storm was far weaker than Carrington, yet it was enough to remind the modern world just how vulnerable it is to the sun's whims. In 2003, another powerful event, nicknamed the Halloween storms, disabled satellites, disrupted GPS signals, and forced airlines to reroute flights away from polar regions to avoid radiation exposure. Each of these events whispers the same warning. The sun may be the giver of life, but it is also a destroyer when it chooses to unleash its power. What makes solar storms especially unnerving is the speed at which they strike. Once a coronal mass ejection leaves the sun, it can reach Earth in as little as 18 hours. That leaves little time for warning, little time to shut down vulnerable systems or prepare for the blow. And while scientists monitor solar activity closely, predicting the exact size, trajectory, and impact of a storm remains difficult. The sun is a chaotic entity, and our ability to understand its temper is still primitive. Each flare is like a coin toss, its consequences ranging from dazzling auroras to global blackouts. Auroras themselves are the most mesmerizing reminder of these solar assaults. When charged particles from the sun collide with Earth's atmosphere, they ignite displays of shimmering green, purple, and red lights across the night sky. For centuries, these lights were seen as omens, warnings of disaster or signs of divine presence. Even today, when we understand their scientific basis, there is something otherworldly about watching the heavens ripple with color, as though the very fabric of the sky is alive, but the beauty masks the danger. Auroras appearing in unusual latitudes often mean the magnetosphere is under assault, and that the systems we depend on, satellites, grids, navigation, are at risk. The more dramatic the lights, the greater the underlying threat. In recent years, auroras have been reported in places far from their normal range, a sign that solar storms may be increasing in intensity as the sun heads toward another maximum. Social media is flooded with photos of glowing skies over regions that rarely see them, each viral image serving as both awe and warning. And while most people marvel at the spectacle, few stop to consider what it means. The lights in the sky are not harmless. They are evidence of the sun's power pressing against our world, testing the resilience of our systems and reminding us of our vulnerability. The implications stretch far beyond power outages and pretty skies. A sufficiently strong solar storm could disable satellites, cutting off GPS signals relied on for everything from navigation to agriculture. Stock markets, dependent on high-speed data, could freeze. Hospitals relying on connected systems could lose critical support. Military defense networks, many of which rely heavily on satellite communication, could go blind. In a world where every aspect of life is tied to technology, a solar storm is not just a scientific curiosity, it is a potential trigger for societal collapse. And the mystery deepens when we consider the timing of these events. Some researchers have noted correlations between solar storms and seismic activity, suggesting that the Earth may respond not only to internal stresses but also to external ones from its star. While this theory is debated, the possibility adds a chilling dimension. Could the sun's outbursts be linked to the quakes and hums beneath our feet? If so, then the chaos of Earth and sky may not be separate phenomena, but interconnected expressions of a larger system. Even without such connections, the sun remains a wild card we cannot control. We can build stronger grids, design radiation-hardened satellites, and develop early warning systems, but we cannot stop the storms. All we can do is hope to anticipate them, to shield ourselves as best we can, and to prepare for the day when the sun sends something as powerful as Carrington once again. And that day is not a matter of if, but when. The truth is that we live at the mercy of a star that burns with relentless fury. It is our life-giver, but also our potential undoing. Each flare that arcs across its surface, each eruption that hurls plasma into space, carries with it the possibility of disruption on a scale we have never faced. We are passengers on a fragile planet, orbiting a star that does not know or care that we exist. And while we marvel at sunsets and bask in its warmth, we must also recognize the danger hidden in its fire. The sun's story is not finished, and neither is ours. As the cycles continue and the storms return, humanity will once again be tested, not just in its ability to rebuild, but in its willingness to see the patterns, to connect the signals, to admit that our place in the cosmos is more precarious than we like to believe. Because just as the earth beneath us is restless, the sky above is alive with fire. And if the sun is the fire, then the void beyond holds something else. Mysterious visitors that appear without warning, objects that defy explanation, and signs that perhaps we are not as alone in this universe as we once thought. And what came next would leave the world questioning everything. For as long as humanity has looked to the skies, there has been a sense of unease whenever a comet appeared. Ancient civilizations recorded them as fiery swords cutting across the heavens, harbingers of war, famine, or the downfall of kings. They were feared not only for their sudden brilliance, but also for their unpredictability. Unlike the stars, which followed steady, reassuring patterns, comets blazed into view without warning, lingered briefly, and vanished again into the abyss. Even now, with telescopes and mathematical models, the appearance of certain cosmic visitors sparks questions that science cannot fully answer. Because while most comets behave as icy wanderers of the solar system, a select few have defied expectations so dramatically that they have reignited speculation. Are these truly random chunks of rock and ice, or are they something more? The comet Atlas is one such example. Discovered in late 2019, it quickly drew attention for its unusual behavior. Predictions suggested it might grow bright enough to be visible to the naked eye, a spectacle to rival some of the most famous comets in history. But as it neared the sun, Atlas did something unexpected. It brightened at a staggering rate, far more than models anticipated. Its coma swelled to a size nearly half that of the sun itself, an enormous ghostly cloud of gas and dust glowing in space. For astronomers, this sudden surge was both fascinating and perplexing. Was Atlas breaking apart, releasing gas in a dramatic burst, or was there something else driving its brilliance? Some dismissed it as a natural but unusual outgassing, while others whispered of stranger possibilities, that perhaps Atlas was not entirely what it seemed. The questions surrounding Atlas echo those sparked by Oumuamua, the cigar-shaped object that tumbled through our solar system in 2017. Unlike any comet or asteroid observed before, Oumuamua accelerated as it left the sun, as though propelled by something unseen. Scientists scrambled for explanations, proposing that it might be shedding material like a comet, though no tail was observed. Others suggested it could be a hydrogen iceberg or a fragment from a larger interstellar body. But none of these theories fit perfect. For some researchers, including Harvard's Avi Loeb, the simplest explanation was also the most unsettling. Oumuamua might have been artificial, perhaps a probe or a fragment of alien technology sent through interstellar space. The idea was controversial, criticized by many in the scientific community, yet it captured the public imagination. For once, speculation about alien visitors wasn't confined to science fiction. It was debated in academic journals. Comets and interstellar objects carry a dual power. On one hand, they are natural time capsules, relics of the solar system's birth, frozen archives of ancient material. On the other hand, they are wildcards, capable of disrupting or even ending life on Earth. The impact that wiped out the dinosaurs was most likely caused by a comet or asteroid, a reminder that these visitors are not just spectacles in the sky, but potential harbingers of mass extinction. Every bright streak across the heavens carries with it the uneasy thought, what if this one is on a collision course? What if, hidden in the darkness, there is an object we have yet to see, one that could change everything in an instant? This fear is compounded by the growing recognition that our ability to detect such objects is limited. Oumuamua was not seen until it was already past Earth, already leaving the solar system. Atlas, despite its size, was discovered only months before its closest approach. Many smaller but still dangerous objects remain undetected until they flash by our planet, sometimes passing closer than the Moon. If one of them were on a direct collision path, we might have only days or weeks to prepare, and preparation in most cases would not be enough. Humanity likes to believe it is ready for such a scenario, but the truth is sobering. We are vulnerable to the void in ways we do not like to admit. Yet the danger is not the only source of fascination. Some believe comets have played a vital role in shaping life itself. The theory of panspermia suggests that comets may have delivered the building blocks of life, amino acids, organic molecules, even water to the early Earth. In this view, comets are not just messengers of doom, but bringers of creation, seeding barren planets with the ingredients necessary for life. It is a strange duality. The same objects that could extinguish us may also have given us our first spark. Each passing comet, each interstellar traveler, is a reminder that life and death are written in the same cosmic language. And then there are the theories that push even further into mystery. Could some of these objects be deliberately engineered, disguised as comets, but hiding advanced technology within? Could their sudden changes in brightness, or their unusual trajectories be signs of propulsion, observation, or communication? Mainstream science dismisses such ideas as speculation, but speculation thrives where mysteries remain unsolved. Oumuamua's unexplained acceleration, Atlas's rapid brightening. These anomalies keep the door open for more exotic explanations. To some, these visitors are not random wanderers, but scouts, probes from civilizations beyond our reach, quietly observing before vanishing back into the darkness. The psychological impact of these cosmic visitors should not be underestimated. In a world already shaken by quakes and storms, the sudden arrival of a glowing comet or an inexplicable interstellar object can feel like part of a larger pattern, a narrative written by the universe itself. People look for connections, asking whether these events are isolated or linked to the Earth's own turbulence. Are the quakes, the solar storms, and the comets all part of the same cycle? Are they signals in a larger system we cannot yet understand? The thought is both terrifying and magnetic, pulling us towards speculation even as we try to cling to scientific explanations. The truth is that the cosmos is not empty. It is full of wanderers, some predictable, others startlingly new. Each one is a reminder that Earth is not an isolated stage, but part of a larger theatre, one in which unseen actors move across the sky with purposes we may never grasp. And whether these visitors are messengers of life, harbingers of destruction, or simply icy fragments drifting through eternity, their presence reminds us of our vulnerability. They remind us that the void is not silent, that we are not immune to its reach, and that sometimes the greatest threats or the greatest revelations arrive unannounced, blazing across the night sky before disappearing forever. The story of these cosmic wanderers does not end with Atlas or Oumuamua. More will come, some already on their way, unseen in the vastness, until they suddenly appear. And when they do, we will once again find ourselves caught between awe and fear, between wonder at their brilliance and dread at their potential. Because comets and interstellar visitors are more than celestial events. They are questions written in fire and ice, asking us what we truly know about the universe and our place within it. And as the skies bring us these mysteries, the earth itself hums beneath our feet, adding its own voice to the chorus. Strange sounds, unexplained signals, vibrations that defy easy explanation. They rise from the ground as though the planet itself is trying to speak, and what those signals suggest may be even stranger than the visitors from the void. For centuries, people have whispered about mysterious sounds carried on the wind or resonating deep within the earth. From ancient myths of sky trumpets to modern reports of unexplained booms, the idea that the planet itself might be speaking has lingered like an unsolved riddle. And while folklore once filled the gaps with stories of gods or omens, today the puzzle has taken on a scientific edge. The Earth, it seems, produces sounds that defy easy explanation: hums, pulses, and signals recorded by instruments across the globe, often too low for the human ear to detect, but unmistakable in the data. To some, these noises are curiosities, minor byproducts of natural processes. To others, they are messages, clues to forces we do not yet understand, signals rising from the depths of a living world. One of the most intriguing examples is the so-called Earth hum. First detected in the mid-20th century, this persistent vibration resonates at frequencies far below human hearing, a constant background noise that never fully disappears. Unlike earthquakes, which produce sharp, sudden spikes in seismic readings, the hum is steady, almost like a planetary heartbeat. For decades, scientists debated its origin. Some suggested it was caused by the relentless pounding of ocean waves against the seafloor, their energy reverberating through the crust. Others linked it to atmospheric pressure changes, or even interactions between the Earth and the solar wind. Yet no single explanation has silenced the mystery. The hum continues, a subtle but omnipresent signal that reminds us the planet is never truly still. Then there are the more localized mysteries, the unexplained sky trumpets reported in dozens of countries over the past 2 decades. Residents describe hearing loud, metallic blasts echoing from above, sometimes lasting minutes, sometimes just seconds. Videos capturing these sounds have gone viral, their eerie tones unsettling millions online. Skeptics argue that many are hoaxes or misidentified noises, industrial machinery, trains, or atmospheric effects. But in some cases, no clear source can be found, leaving communities unnerved and grasping for answers. To believers, these sounds are warnings, echoes of tectonic shifts, or even signals from beyond the Earth itself. To scientists, they remain anomalies, frustratingly difficult to study because of their sporadic and unpredictable nature. Unexplained booms add another layer of strangeness. Across coastal towns and inland cities alike, people have reported sudden thunderous noises shaking windows and rattling doors, often with no accompanying quake or explosion. In the United States, such mystery booms have been reported in states from Alabama to Connecticut. Some have been attributed to small earthquakes or military exercises, but many remain unresolved. These sonic events can be so powerful that seismographs pick them up, yet they leave no visible trace. Theories range from atmospheric phenomena like exploding meteors to subterranean gas releases, but in most cases the booms remain unexplained. Another signal in the growing chorus of Earth's strange noises. Technology has only deepened the mystery. With sensitive seismometers and acoustic arrays spread across the globe, we now record sounds and vibrations that previous generations never knew existed. Data streams reveal faint patterns, repeating signals that seem to rise from the depths of the mantle or ripple across the oceans. Some are eventually explained: waves, weather, tectonic shifts, but others linger stubbornly outside our grasp. In 2018, for instance, instruments detected a global seismic event that lasted over 20 minutes, emanating from near Mayotte, a small island between Africa and Madagascar. Unlike normal quakes, the event produced no shaking felt by humans. Instead, it generated low-frequency waves that circled the planet multiple times. Scientists were baffled. Was it volcanic activity deep under the ocean, a new kind of seismic phenomenon, or something else entirely? Years later, the exact cause remains uncertain. It is not just the Earth itself that produces these signals. Some researchers suggest that certain anomalies could be linked to solar and cosmic activity. During intense geomagnetic storms, unusual sounds have been reported: crackling, hissing, or popping noises in the atmosphere. While some of these can be explained as auroral sounds caused by interactions of charged particles with the upper atmosphere, others defy replication in laboratory settings. Could these atmospheric voices be part of the same system that generates the Earth? If so, then the signals we record may not be isolated curiosities, but threads in a vast, interconnected web stretching from the ocean floor to the edge of space. Speculation inevitably thrives where certainty falters. Some believe the hums and booms are linked to tectonic stress building deep underground, subtle warnings of future quakes. Others suggest the sounds are resonances amplified by the planet itself, like a colossal musical instrument vibrating under unseen hands. Fringe theories go further still, imagining communication signals, artificial in nature, sent either from within the Earth or from beyond. To these believers, the planet may be acting as both transmitter and receiver, a medium through which hidden messages travel. While mainstream science sees little evidence for such claims, the allure of the unknown keeps the theories alive, each unexplained anomaly fueling more speculation. What makes these phenomena especially compelling is their psychological impact. When a community hears a loud, unexplained trumpet-like blast or a series of bone-rattling booms, fear spreads quickly. People search the skies, scan the news, and speculate online, often reaching for extraordinary explanations. In these moments, the mystery becomes a mirror, reflecting our deepest anxieties about the world. Are these noises signs of a planet in distress? Are they warnings we are failing to understand? Or are they simply random quirks of nature, amplified by our desire for meaning? The truth likely lies somewhere in between. Many sounds have natural explanations, but not all, and even when they can be explained, the sheer scale of the phenomena is humbling. The Earth is vast, alive with energy, and constantly shifting. Its movements, from tectonic plates grinding to magma churning beneath the crust, produce a symphony of vibrations we are only beginning to hear. To live on this planet is to live within that symphony, whether we notice it or not. The hum, the booms, the trumpets, they are reminders that Earth is not silent, not inert, but a dynamic system humming with life and power. And yet, the mystery remains. Why do these signals often cluster around times of greater upheaval, earthquakes, solar storms, cosmic visitors? Is there a deeper connection we are missing, a hidden rhythm tying them all together? Scientists may caution against drawing conclusions, but the timing cannot be ignored. Each unexplained sound feels like part of a larger pattern, a message written not in words but in vibrations and echoes. And if it is a message, then the real question is, are we capable of hearing it before it is too late? Because the hums and signals are not the only signs of hidden connections. When quakes, flares, and visitors from the void converge, the coincidences begin to feel less like chance and more like a design. And what emerges from those patterns may be the most unsettling revelation of all, that the forces shaking our world, lighting our skies, and sending us mysterious visitors are not separate stories but chapters in the same book, unfolding faster than we realize. When events unfold in isolation, they are easier to explain. An earthquake can be written off as the release of tectonic pressure. A solar flare is attributed to the sun's natural cycle. A comet streaking through the night sky is dismissed as a piece of ancient rock and ice wandering through space. But when these events occur close together, when quakes rattle cities just as auroras ripple across skies far from the poles, when a mysterious hum vibrates through the earth at the same time a comet suddenly flares brighter than expected, the coincidences begin to feel less like chance and more like threads in a larger web. And it is within that web of coincidence that speculation grows, whispering of hidden connections that challenge everything we thought we understood about Earth and the cosmos. The most striking element of these alignments is the way they play with timing. Earthquakes, for example, often seem to cluster around periods of heightened solar activity. Scientists are cautious about drawing a direct link, pointing out that tectonic movements are driven by forces deep within the planet. Yet, the correlation is tantalizing. Solar storms unleash torrents of charged particles that batter Earth's magnetosphere, sometimes inducing currents in the crust itself. Could those currents, subtle though they may be, act as triggers for faults already on the edge of rupture? The evidence is inconclusive, but the possibility lingers. Each time a powerful quake follows on the heels of a major solar flare, the theory gains new life, adding another strand to the web. The same pattern emerges when comets enter the picture. Throughout history, the appearance of comets has often coincided with upheaval, plagues, famines, wars, and natural disasters. Skeptics argue that this is nothing more than human pattern seeking, our instinct to tie unrelated events into a story. Yet modern examples complicate the dismissal. Take Comet Atlas, which surged in brightness during a period of global instability, its vast glowing coma dominating the sky just as the world reeled from environmental and societal shocks. Was it coincidence, or was there something deeper at play? Even if science insists on chance, the timing fuels a sense of unease, a gut-level feeling that these events are not as separate as we want them to be. Unexplained signals deepen the intrigue. The global Earth hum, mystery booms, and sky trumpets often occur in stretches where seismic activity is heightened or when solar storms bombard the atmosphere. Some argue these are unrelated overlaps, but the clustering cannot be ignored. In 2018, when a bizarre seismic wave circled the globe for more than 20 minutes, its timing was surrounded by a series of volcanic tremors and oceanic anomalies. Around the same time, unusual auroras were reported at latitudes where they rarely appear. To scientists, these may have been separate quirks. To those watching closely, they were chapters of the same unfolding story, echoes of a system where Earth and sky are tied together by invisible threads. It is not just the timing that unsettles, but the sheer improbability of these alignments. Consider this. The odds of a major quake, a solar storm, and a visible comet, all occurring within weeks of each other, are statistically low, and yet history records multiple instances where such convergences have happened. Each occurrence adds weight to the idea of a hidden rhythm, as though the Earth and cosmos move to a beat we cannot yet hear clearly. What if the so-called coincidences are not coincidences at all, but symptoms of a larger cycle? A cycle where internal and external forces, tectonic pressure, solar energy, cosmic wanderers, interact in ways our science has yet to uncover. Theories attempting to explain the web range from the plausible to the extraordinary. Some researchers point to resonance, the idea that the Earth, like any physical body, vibrates at certain natural frequencies. If a solar storm pumps enough energy into the magnetosphere, could it amplify those vibrations, tipping already stressed regions of the crust into motion? If so, then the timing of quakes and solar flares might not be random at all, but predictable outcomes of resonance between Earth and Sun. Others extend the theory further, suggesting comets passing through the solar system could alter gravitational balances or electromagnetic fields, just enough to add another layer of influence. In this model, Earth, Sun, and comets are not isolated actors, but parts of an intricate dance where the steps are invisible until disaster strikes. Fringe ideas stretch the possibilities even further. Some speculate that these alignments are deliberate, that comets and unexplained signals are tools of observation, timed to coincide with terrestrial and solar upheavals, as part of a larger test. From this perspective, the web of coincidence is not natural but designed, a way for an unknown intelligence to monitor how humanity responds under pressure. While mainstream science scoffs at such claims, the persistence of anomalies keeps these theories alive. After all, what better way to conceal deliberate signals than within natural phenomena already difficult to predict? Regardless of the explanation, the psychological effect of these coincidences is undeniable. When multiple anomalies converge, fear spreads faster than facts. People look for answers, and when none are forthcoming, they create their own. The web becomes a narrative, woven out of uncertainty and amplified by imagination. Social media accelerates the process, turning every comet sighting, every quake, every unexplained boom into part of a shared story of looming catastrophe. In this sense, the web is as much psychological as it is physical, a construct of human need for meaning in chaos. But even if the connections are partly of our own making, the fact remains, the events themselves are real, and their clustering is undeniable. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the web is its unpredictability. Unlike seasonal storms or cyclical patterns we can anticipate, these alignments arrive without warning. A week may pass quietly, then suddenly the ground shakes, the skies flare, a comet blazes brighter than expected, and strange signals ripple across the globe. It feels orchestrated, yet chaotic, random yet purposeful. And each time it happens, the question returns stronger than before. Is there a hidden order at work, or are we merely witnesses to coincidence elevated by fear? Science urges caution, reminding us of the dangers of seeing patterns where none exist. Coincidences happen, especially when observing complex systems like Earth and space, but dismissing the possibility of connections may be just as dangerous. If the web is real, if quakes, flares, comets, and signals are bound together by forces we do not yet comprehend, then failing to recognize it could leave us unprepared for what comes next. Ignorance may be comforting, but it is also perilous, and so the web of coincidence remains suspended between skepticism and belief, science and speculation. Each event adds another thread, weaving a tapestry that feels too intricate to be random. Whether natural cycle, resonance, or something more extraordinary, the convergence of Earth's upheavals and cosmic visitors tells us one thing with certainty: our world is not as separate, not as stable as we once thought. The Earth does not tremble alone. The sun does not flare in isolation. The comets do not pass unnoticed. They are all part of a larger story, one that hints at forces connecting the heavens and the earth in ways we have only begun to imagine. And if the web is real, then perhaps it is not the first time it has tightened around humanity. Ancient myths speak of floods, fires, and omens in the sky, warnings of cycles that rise and fall through history. What if those stories were not fantasy but memory? Echoes of past alignments when the web drew tight and civilizations crumbled under its weight. If so, then the coincidences of today may not be coincidences at all, but warnings that the cycle is repeating and that we are once again standing at the edge of something far greater than we realize. Throughout history, humanity has left behind stories etched in stone, whispered in myth, and preserved in sacred texts that describe strange events eerily similar to what we experience today. We often dismiss these accounts as superstition, the imaginative fabric of people who lacked science to explain their world. Yet when we strip away the embellishments, a striking pattern emerges: warnings of upheaval, cosmic visitors, and earth-shaking phenomena that sound less like legends and more like memories of real events. Could it be that the mysteries we observe now, quakes, sky sounds, solar flares, and comets, are not new at all, but echoes of cycles that ancient civilizations already witnessed? And if so, why were their warnings so often ignored, forgotten, or buried? Take the Mayans, for instance. Their elaborate calendars did more than track the seasons. They mapped celestial cycles with uncanny precision. They believed that cosmic alignments heralded great shifts on Earth, and their prophecies often tied celestial visitors with upheavals below. The infamous 2012 prediction, widely misunderstood as the end of the world, was not about a single catastrophic day, but the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. To the Mayans, these cycles of destruction and renewal were part of the natural order, driven by forces beyond human control. Skeptics mocked their prophecies, but what if their warnings were never about fantasy? What if they were recording real rhythms between earth and sky, rhythms that modern science is only now beginning to glimpse? The Bible too contains stories of fire in the heavens, trumpets in the sky, and floods that swallowed the world. In the book of Revelation, the sounding of trumpets unleashes calamities: hail, fire, poisoned waters, and trembling earth. While theologians interpret these passages symbolically, the descriptions mirror natural disasters we know all too well. Trumpets echo the strange sky sounds heard in recent years. Stars falling from heaven could be comets blazing through the atmosphere. The darkening of the sun could easily be an eclipse or the dust cloud from a massive eruption. Whether metaphor or memory, the parallels are impossible to ignore. The Greeks left behind similar accounts. In their myths, comets were messengers of doom, while gods hurled thunderbolts that shook the ground and lit the skies. The story of Phaethon, who lost control of the sun's chariot and scorched the earth, can be read as allegory, but it also sounds like an ancient attempt to describe a solar flare or a cosmic impact event. Plato's tale of Atlantis speaks of a powerful civilization destroyed in a single day and night of earthquakes and floods. Scholars argue over its meaning, but many point out that it may not have been pure invention. Perhaps Plato was preserving fragments of a collective memory of sudden cataclysm, an echo of times when the web of coincidence pulled tight and the earth itself convulsed. Further east, in India's Vedic texts, stories of celestial battles and heavenly weapons describe energy so destructive it resembles nuclear explosions or meteor impacts. The Mahabharata describes a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe and an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 10,000 suns. Skeptics call this poetic exaggeration, but the uncanny resemblance to descriptions of modern weaponry or cosmic events like asteroid strikes makes one wonder if ancient observers were recording encounters with phenomena beyond their understanding. Could these tales have been encoded warnings, preserved as myth when the details of the science were lost? Indigenous cultures, too, have preserved stories that align with today's mysteries. Native American legends speak of sky booms, earth-shaking tremors, and great floods. Inuit elders in the Arctic have long warned that the sky and stars are shifting, describing changes in celestial positions that modern scientists confirm as real, tied to shifts in Earth's axis and climate. Aboriginal Australians tell of fiery visitors from the sky that brought both destruction and renewal, stories consistent with meteor strikes known to have scarred the continent thousands of years ago. In every corner of the world, voices from the past speak of upheaval, of cycles where earth and sky joined in chaos. The language differs, but the message is consistent. Pay attention, for the patterns repeat. So why were these warnings forgotten or ignored? Part of the answer lies in human nature. Civilizations rise, believing themselves secure, and dismiss the lessons of those who came before. Flood myths, comet omens, and trumpet blasts are relegated to folklore, stripped of urgency until the cycle repeats and the signs reappear. Another part may be more unsettling. What if some warnings were deliberately buried? History is full of examples of inconvenient truths, suppressed by those in power, whether to maintain control or to prevent panic. Ancient records lost in fires, scrolls hidden in caves, texts labeled heretical, all of them raise the possibility that knowledge of these cycles was once widespread, only to be erased or forgotten. Modern discoveries add weight to these ancient warnings. Geological evidence confirms that cataclysms, impacts, supervolcanoes, sudden climate shifts have struck repeatedly throughout Earth's history. Ice cores, sediment layers, and fossil records all tell stories of abrupt changes, times when life was nearly wiped out. Ancient myths may not be fantasy at all, but human attempts to make sense of those cataclysms to preserve their memory for future generations. If that is true, then we should not dismiss the parallels lightly. Instead, we should ask why so many cultures across continents, separated by oceans and time, all describe the same phenomena: fire in the skies, sounds from above, trembling earth, and floods that reset civilization. The forgotten warnings also raise another question. Are we now living in one of those repeating cycles? The quakes, the hums, the flares, the comets, they align with the very phenomena our ancestors feared. The sky trumpets echo revelation. The comets mirror Greek omens. The unexplained signals recall the Vedic descriptions of celestial energy. The earth's trembling echoes Plato's destruction of Atlantis. And just as in those ancient tales, the signs are converging, not standing alone. Could it be that the cycle is returning right now in our lifetimes? Skeptics will argue that drawing links between ancient myth and modern anomaly is reaching too far, that humans simply recycle stories and see patterns where none exist. Yet history shows us how easily real events are mythologized. The eruption of Thera inspired tales of drowned islands. The Tunguska blast of 1908 has already become legend in Siberia. If a civilization faced quakes, comets, and strange sky sounds thousands of years ago, is it so hard to believe they would record it as divine wrath or cosmic battle? What we call myth may simply be memory, distorted by time, but rooted in truth. And if that is the case, then ignoring these echoes is dangerous. Myths may hold warnings meant for us, lessons carved in story to survive the ages. The Mayans spoke of cycles, the Bible warned of trumpets, Plato told of civilizations erased in a single night. Perhaps they were not predicting the future, but reminding us of the past, a past that may be repeating even now. The web of coincidence grows thicker when history is added to it. Ancient voices join modern data, and together they point to a reality that is hard to ignore. Earth is not stable, and the forces of the cosmos do not act in isolation. The quakes, the flares, the comets, the hums, they are not new. They are ancient, recurring, part of a cycle humanity has lived through before, and may soon live through again. Forgotten warnings are only forgotten until the cycle returns, and when it does, the cost of ignoring them becomes clear. Because if the past teaches us anything, it is this: civilizations that dismiss the signs do not last. The ground shakes, the skies flare, the waters rise, and the stories become all that remain. We have the chance to listen before it is too late. The question is, will we like to think of ourselves as living in an age of security? Skyscrapers reach toward the clouds, satellites orbit above our heads, and information flows instantly across the globe with a few taps on a screen. Cities pulse with artificial light that outshines the stars, and highways stretch like veins across continents, moving people and goods with a precision no previous civilization could have imagined. Yet beneath this gleaming surface lies a truth most people prefer not to confront. Our present is far more fragile than it appears. For all our advancements, humanity is balanced precariously on systems so delicate, that even the smallest disruption could send everything crashing down. And when we measure that fragility against the forces of Earth and cosmos, it becomes clear that the world we've built is not as unshakable as we want to believe. Take our dependence on technology. Nearly every aspect of modern life is bound to the invisible web of electricity and data. Power grids feed our homes, hospitals, and businesses. Satellites guide our planes, monitor the weather, and synchronize financial transactions. The internet carries the lifeblood of communication, connecting billions in an endless stream of messages and exchanges. But what happens when these systems are disrupted? A single cyber attack can plunge a city into chaos. A downed satellite can halt flights and confuse navigation. Now imagine a solar storm of the kind Earth has faced before. The Carrington event of 1859, when massive solar flares crippled telegraph systems worldwide. If a storm of that magnitude struck today, scientists warn it could disable satellites, fry transformers, and knock out power grids for months, even years. Entire nations could be thrown into darkness, economies shattered, and societies reduced to survival mode almost overnight. The fragile present would shatter like glass. Natural disasters reveal this fragility on a smaller but no less alarming scale. In 2011, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami devastated Japan, overwhelming defenses and crippling the Fukushima nuclear plant. In mere hours, one of the most advanced countries in the world was brought to its knees, forced into a struggle, not just against nature but against the very technology it had created to secure its future. Around the globe, floods paralyzed cities, wildfires erased communities, and hurricanes carved paths of destruction with increasing frequency. Each event is a reminder that no matter how high we build, how deep we dig, or how advanced we become, we are still subject to forces beyond our control. What makes today more dangerous than the past is scale. Ancient civilizations collapsed when their crops failed, or when earthquakes leveled their cities. Tragic as those events were, they were often localized, confined to a region. Today, however, the world is interconnected. A tremor in one nation ripples across global markets. A storm that wipes out crops in one continent drives food prices up everywhere. A virus emerging in a single city can spread worldwide in weeks, as we saw with the recent pandemic. We are bound together by technology, trade, and travel, which means we share not only our triumphs, but also our vulnerabilities. When one thread in the global web snaps, the entire structure trembles. Our illusion of control also blinds us. We measure, predict, and model, convincing ourselves that numbers and charts contain the unpredictable. We speak of 100-year floods and 500-year quakes, as though disasters respect our timelines. Yet time and again the Earth ignores our estimates, unleashing destruction far sooner than expected. These false assurances lull us into complacency. Cities are built on fault lines. Homes are constructed in floodplains. Power plants are placed on vulnerable coasts. We tell ourselves the odds are low, but odds mean little when the cycle turns faster than we expect. The fragility of the present lies not just in nature's power, but in our arrogance to underestimate it. Compounding the danger is the reality that humanity itself is creating new risks. Climate change is intensifying storms, raising seas, and pushing weather systems into extremes we have never seen before. As glaciers melt and permafrost thaws, ancient microbes may be released, pathogens our immune systems have never encountered. Our hunger for resources drives us deeper into the earth, fracking, drilling, and mining in ways that destabilize the crust and release unseen pressures. We are not just vulnerable to the planet, we are actively provoking it, pulling levers we do not fully understand. Each act of extraction, each emission, each alteration of the natural balance adds strain to a system already stretched thin. And then there is the psychological fragility, the fear that spreads faster than facts. In an age of constant media, every quake, every flare, every strange sound in the sky becomes global news. Videos of mystery booms spark panic. Images of auroras caused by solar storms inspire awe, but also dread. When events converge, a comet blazing overhead, an earthquake rattling cities, and unusual sounds reverberating across the skies, the human mind instinctively seeks patterns, fearing the worst. This collective anxiety can destabilize societies just as effectively as physical disasters. Markets collapse on rumors. Governments falter under pressure. trust erodes when people feel they are not being told the full truth. Fragility is not only about infrastructure, but also about perception, and once fear takes hold, the unraveling accelerates. History offers countless warnings, but the present magnifies the stakes. We are more advanced than any civilization before us, yet that advancement is built on a house of cards. We rely on satellites orbiting in a hostile space environment, on grids vulnerable to both storms and sabotage, on global trade routes that can be severed in days. We have created a system that is both powerful and precarious, efficient but brittle, and when the Earth shakes, when the sun flares, when comets blaze unexpectedly in the sky, it does not matter how advanced we are, our fragility is exposed. The unsettling truth is that we may already be in the midst of a cycle our ancestors warned us about, one where Earth and cosmos conspire to remind humanity of its limits. The quakes, the flares, the hums, the comets, individually they can be explained, together they form a chorus too loud to ignore. Yet here we are, rushing forward, confident in our skyscrapers and satellites, blind to the possibility that the very systems we depend on could vanish in a heartbeat. This fragile present is a paradox. We are stronger than ever, yet weaker than we admit. We hold unimaginable power, yet we are at the mercy of forces we cannot control. The earth hums, the skies flare, the void sends visitors, and we tell ourselves it is nothing but coincidence. But deep down, there is a nagging awareness, a whisper of doubt that refuses to fade. What if it is not coincidence? What if these converging signs are reminders of cycles that have ended civilizations before us? And what if we are standing on the edge of that cycle once again? The present, for all its glittering illusions, is a moment balanced on a knife's edge. The systems we trust could unravel with shocking speed. The fragility we deny could be exposed in an instant. And when that moment comes, when the web of coincidence tightens, it will not be skyscrapers or satellites that save us. It will be our ability or our failure to recognize the warnings before it is too late. When facts remain uncertain and mysteries pile up, the human mind inevitably turns to theories. Some cling tightly to science, hunting for rational explanations in data and models. Others lean toward the speculative, entertaining possibilities that reach beyond the boundaries of mainstream thought. And somewhere in between lies a shadowy middle ground, where unanswered questions, anomalies and coincidences invite daring interpretations. When it comes to earthquakes coinciding with solar storms, comets brightening unexpectedly, strange hums circling the Earth, and sky sounds echoing like trumpets, the spectrum of theories is vast. Each offers a piece of the puzzle, though none provide the full picture, leaving us caught between reason and wonder. One of the most grounded theories is that of resonance, an idea that Earth, like any object, vibrates at natural frequencies. When energy is introduced from outside sources like solar storms, those vibrations can be amplified. The planet's crust may already be under enormous stress from tectonic forces, and even a small energetic nudge could trigger a quake. Supporters of this theory point to statistical overlaps between geomagnetic storms and seismic events, suggesting that the sun might play a hidden role in how and when the Earth releases its pressure. If true, then quakes and flares are not separate phenomena, but parts of an interconnected system, a dialogue between Earth and Sun we are only beginning to decode. Another scientific possibility is electromagnetic coupling. Solar activity floods the planet with charged particles, which in turn generate currents in the atmosphere and crust. These currents, while small on a global scale, could be enough to influence sensitive systems, fault lines close to rupture, volcanic chambers under stress, or even the ionosphere where strange sounds sometimes emerge. Some researchers argue that the unexplained Earth hum may be partially linked to this coupling, a constant vibration born of the sun's relentless pressure on our planet. If so, then every flare, every storm is not just a celestial light show, but a force with deep terrestrial consequences. Still, science leaves gaps, and it is within those gaps that speculation thrives. One of the most intriguing theories is that comets and interstellar objects are not just cosmic wanderers, but catalysts in larger cycles of upheaval. Their gravitational influence, however subtle, might disturb Earth's delicate balance. Their debris trails, when crossed by our planet, could spark atmospheric disturbances or even biological changes. Some suggest comets may carry more than ice and dust. They might transport microbes, even genetic material, linking them to sudden leaps in evolution or devastating pandemics. In this view, comets are both destroyers and creators, instruments of a cosmic rhythm that shapes life and death on Earth. Then there is the theory of cycles, rooted in both ancient wisdom and modern observation. From the Mayans to the Hindus, from Plato's Atlantis to the Bible's Revelation, cultures across the world describe repeating ages of destruction and renewal. Could it be that Earth and Sun operate within a larger cosmic timetable, one that periodically brings alignments of quakes, flares, comets and floods? Some geologists argue that mass extinctions and upheavals appear in recurring intervals. Every 26 to 30 million years, major events seem to strike. Whether caused by comet showers from the Oort cloud, galactic cycles or other forces, the evidence hints at a cosmic metronome. If so, then what we call coincidences today may simply be the first beats of the next cycle. Fringe theories push further. Some speculate that the unexplained signals and sky trumpets are not natural at all but artificial. Could an advanced civilization, perhaps hidden within our planet or watching from afar, be sending signals timed with Earth's upheavals? The notion seems far-fetched, yet anomalies like Oumuamua, a cigar-shaped interstellar object with unusual acceleration, give fuel to the imagination. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggested it could be alien technology, and while his theory drew criticism, it cracked open the door for mainstream debate about possibilities once confined to science fiction. If one interstellar visitor can defy explanation, could others' comets, signals, hums be more than they appear? Conspiracy theories also swirl in the fog of uncertainty. Some claim governments know more than they reveal, hiding connections between solar storms, quakes, and atmospheric anomalies to prevent panic. Documents hinting at military experiments with low-frequency sound or ionospheric manipulation have led some to suspect human involvement in at least some of the phenomena. Could the strange sky sounds, the booms, the hums, be side effects of technology operating in secret? HAARP, the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, is often invoked in these circles, accused of manipulating weather or triggering quakes despite official denials. While much of this may be paranoia, the secrecy surrounding such projects ensures that speculation will never fully die. Religious interpretations offer another layer. Believers see the converging signs as fulfillments of prophecy. Trumpets in the sky, stars falling from heaven, the earth shaking, the seas rising. For them, these are not coincidences, but warnings, markers of an approaching reckoning. Whether read from Revelation, the Quran, or other sacred texts, the alignment of modern anomalies with ancient prophecies is hard to dismiss. Faith adds urgency to the mystery, framing it not as a puzzle to solve, but as a message to heed. Between these extremes lies a sobering possibility. Perhaps the theories all touch on a fragment of the truth. Resonance may explain some quakes, comets may influence cycles, solar storms may trigger signals, and human activity may amplify vulnerabilities. Together they form a web too complex for any single explanation. The fragility of the present means even small forces can cascade into larger consequences. In this light, the theories are not in competition but in chorus, each offering a note in the larger symphony of mystery. What makes the speculation so gripping is not only the anomalies themselves, but the timing. Rarely do these phenomena appear alone. A quake rattles the crust just as a comet blazes brighter. Sky trumpets echo in the same season as solar storms. The Earth hum peaks during unusual seismic or volcanic activity. Each alignment makes coincidence harder to swallow, inviting theories that stretch from the scientific to the surreal. And the more the signs converge, the stronger the urge to believe we are standing at the edge of something momentous. Ultimately, the allure of theories and speculations lies in their ability to bridge the gap between what we know and what we fear. Science provides data, but mystery demands meaning. Theories fill the silence between signals, offering explanations that range from rational to extraordinary. Whether we see cycles, alien messages, government secrets, or divine warnings depends as much on our worldview as on the evidence itself. But one thing is certain: the mysteries will not fade. The earth will continue to hum, the skies will continue to flare, comets will continue to arrive unannounced. And as long as they do, theories will thrive, feeding our need to understand the forces that shape our fragile world. Perhaps the truth is stranger than any single theory. Perhaps the web of coincidences, the forgotten warnings of the past, the fragility of the present, and the speculations of today are all pieces of a puzzle we cannot yet assemble. But whether the answer lies in science, myth, or something beyond both, the The questions themselves remind us of a deeper truth. Earth is alive, the cosmos is not silent, and our place within it is far more precarious and far more mysterious than we dare to admit. The human mind is built to seek patterns. It is how we survive, how we predict the turn of seasons, how we learn to follow the stars, and how we navigated a dangerous world long before we understood science. But sometimes, patterns emerge that are too unsettling to ignore, aligning events across disciplines, across centuries, and across the very boundary between earth and sky. At first, they appear as scattered anomalies. An earthquake here, a solar flare there, a comet brightening against the night, a strange hum reverberating across the globe. Each one can be explained in isolation, but when viewed together, a picture begins to form. It is incomplete, fragmented, but unmistakable in its outline. Something is happening that connects what we once thought were unrelated phenomena. The question is whether these are the natural pulses of a living planet, or signs of a deeper, more ominous cycle. Consider the clustering of quakes with solar storms. The Earth has trembled countless times in its history, and the sun has flared without ceasing for billions of years. Yet when large flares erupt, often within days or weeks, seismic unrest seems to rise. Statisticians warn against conflating correlation with causation, but the timing is uncanny. When massive solar storms hammer Earth's magnetosphere, triggering auroras and disrupting communications, it is not uncommon for reports of earthquakes or volcanic activity to follow. Could this be coincidence? Perhaps, but the repetition gnaws at the mind, suggesting a hidden link, a resonance between star and planet. If the sun's outbursts can rattle satellites in orbit and fry electrical grids, is it really so implausible that they might also stir the deep, fragile balance of tectonic plates under strain? The same can be said of comets. They are ancient wanderers, relics of the solar system's birth, but their appearances often coincide with moments of upheaval, from ancient myths tying them to plagues and wars, to modern sightings that seem to accompany seismic or atmospheric anomalies. Comets refuse to stay confined to the role of harmless spectacles. When Comet Atlas expanded to a coma nearly half the size of the Sun, it did so amid a backdrop of global turmoil, as if mirroring the instability below. Patterns like this, repeated throughout history, hint that these celestial visitors may be more than random wanderers. Perhaps they are messengers, heralding or even triggering changes on Earth in ways we do not yet comprehend. Then there are the unexplained signals, the hums, booms, and trumpets echoing across continents. These sounds often emerge in proximity to other anomalies. Mystery booms shake windows during times of seismic unrest. Sky trumpets are heard during solar storms or unusual auroras. The global hum pulses steadily but has been recorded at stronger amplitudes during volcanic or tectonic activity. If each of these were unrelated, their timing would not matter, but when they cluster, when sounds from the sky accompany trembling ground and glowing skies, the pattern becomes impossible to dismiss. It feels less like coincidence and more like communication, as though the Earth itself is sounding alarms we do not yet know how to interpret. Patterns also emerge when we look beyond isolated events to cycles in history. Ancient myths speak of repeating ages of destruction, floods, fire from the heavens, trembling Earth. Geological records confirm that mass extinctions and upheavals have occurred in cycles, often tied to astronomical rhythms. Every 26 to 30 million years, cataclysmic events strike Earth, whether from comet showers, volcanic activity, or shifts in climate. The resonance is chilling. Our ancestors recorded stories of cosmic upheaval, and our rocks bear the scars of repeated catastrophes. What if those ancient voices were not imagining? What if they were remembering, passing down warnings of cycles we are now seeing again? Today, with modern technology, we are in a unique position to observe these patterns in real time. Satellites record the sun's flares, telescopes track interstellar visitors, seismographs capture quakes, and sensitive microphones pick up the hums of the planet. And when we place these data sets side by side, align their timelines, and connect their dots, the picture is undeniable. The events are converging more frequently. Flares, quakes, comets, and signals are not appearing in isolation, but in clusters, in rapid succession, like drumbeats growing louder and faster. The Earth and sky seem to be moving in sync, their rhythms merging into something larger. Skeptics warn against overinterpretation. They argue that in a world of constant monitoring, we will naturally see more coincidences. With billions of people recording, sharing, and analyzing, even rare events will overlap, but the scale of the alignments goes beyond mere chance. It is not just about two anomalies occurring at once, but about clusters of 3, 4, even 5 phenomena overlapping within short windows of time. When the ground shakes, the skies flare, comets brighten, and strange sounds echo all in the same season, the odds of pure coincidence dwindle. Patterns emerge not from isolated incidents, but from the weight of repetition, from the growing chorus of anomalies refusing to remain separate. These patterns are not only physical but psychological. Human perception amplifies them, weaving scattered events into a coherent story. Yet even if perception shapes the narrative, the events themselves are real. The quakes happen, the flares erupt, the comets blaze, the hum continues. What we choose to make of them, warning, coincidence, prophecy, depends on our frame of mind. But the fact remains, the alignments are increasing, and with them the unease. Perhaps the most unsettling pattern is how these phenomena mirror the forgotten warnings of the past. Trumpet sounds in the sky echo biblical prophecy. Bright comets align with ancient omens of doom. Trembling ground recalls Plato's tales of civilizations lost in a single night. Even the hum, steady and mysterious, feels like the heartbeat of a living earth described in myths of Gaia and other earth deities. It is as if history is repeating itself, the same signs returning in a cycle we have yet to fully understand. And if history teaches us anything, it is that civilizations that ignore the patterns do not endure. Science alone cannot yet explain the full picture, but neither can speculation alone. The patterns demand a synthesis, a willingness to consider that multiple forces, tectonic, solar, cosmic, psychological, are converging at once. Together they create a web too intricate to dismiss. Whether we call it coincidence, cycle, or conspiracy, the truth is that something is happening, something that binds earth and sky in a way we are only beginning to glimpse. What comes next may depend on how we respond. If we dismiss the patterns, chalk them up to paranoia or chance, we risk being blindsided when the cycle tightens. If we overreact, we risk spiraling into fear and chaos, destabilizing our fragile present faster than nature itself. The challenge is to acknowledge the patterns without succumbing to either denial or panic. To see the alignments for what they are, signals, hints, reminders that Earth is not isolated, that it moves in harmony with forces larger than itself, forces capable of shaping civilizations in an instant. The patterns are there, undeniable to anyone willing to look. The earth hums while the skies flare, comets arrive as quakes stir, trumpets echo as history repeats. Whether these alignments are warnings, natural rhythms, or something stranger, one thing is certain: they are accelerating. The question now is not whether the patterns exist, but what they mean, and how long we have before the next alignment brings consequences too great to ignore. There comes a moment in every mystery when the evidence stops feeling like coincidence and starts pressing against the edges of revelation. That is where we now stand. For years, scattered anomalies, earthquakes, solar storms, comets, strange hums, could be explained away as isolated quirks of a restless planet and an active star. But when they begin to align, when their timing weaves together into patterns that mirror the forgotten warnings of history, the sense of randomness begins to collapse. What remains is something larger, something more unnerving, the feeling that the Earth, the Sun, and perhaps even the cosmos itself are drawing us toward a truth we are not yet ready to face. It is as though we are standing at the edge of a curtain, about to glimpse what lies behind it, but still unwilling to pull it back. The edge of revelation is not a single event, but a gradual tightening of threads, a growing awareness that the systems around us are connected in ways we only dimly perceive. Consider the hum of the earth, steady and persistent, a soundless rhythm recorded by instruments around the world. Alone, it is a curiosity. But when that hum peaks during times of seismic unrest, or coincides with unusual atmospheric anomalies, it ceases to be background noise and becomes something more, a signal in a larger chorus. Likewise, a comet blazing brighter than expected might be dismissed as outgassing. But when its sudden surge aligns with solar activity and atmospheric disturbances, the explanation feels incomplete. Each anomaly on its own is a mystery. Together they are a revelation in progress. hinting at forces that transcend the boundaries of what we consider separate domains of nature. The danger of this edge is that it destabilizes certainty. For centuries, humanity has worked to categorize, separate, and explain. The sun belongs to astronomy, the earth to geology, comets to astrophysics, sounds to acoustics. But what if the lines between these fields are illusions? What if the reality is not one of separation but of interconnection? A vast and hidden web, where every tremor, flare, and hum is part of the same unfolding story. That possibility threatens the comfort of specialization. It suggests that the experts who dismiss connections may be missing the bigger picture, and it leaves ordinary people, those who see patterns in the chaos, with a sense that their intuition may not be so wrong after all. History has taught us that revelations often arrive not with clarity, but with fear. The discovery that Earth was not the center of the universe shattered centuries of belief. The realization that disease was spread by invisible microbes overturned our understanding of life and death. Each revelation begins as heresy, resisted by those invested in the old ways of thinking. But once the evidence becomes undeniable, the shift is permanent. We may now be approaching a similar shift, one that redefines our relationship with both Earth and cosmos. The signs are mounting, and the resistance to seeing them may be little more than fear disguised as skepticism. The edge of revelation is also the edge of control. If solar storms can trigger seismic unrest, if comets can influence more than the night sky, if unexplained signals hint at communication beyond our understanding, then humanity's sense of dominance is an illusion. We are not masters of the planet. We are passengers on a vessel buffeted by forces far greater than ourselves. A revelation of this magnitude would shake not only science but politics, religion, and culture. The narratives that hold our societies together, progress, control, predictability, would fray under the weight of a truth that says you are not in charge, and you never were. Yet revelation does not have to be catastrophic. It can also be a doorway, a chance to see reality more clearly and to prepare for what lies ahead. If Earth and Sun are connected through hidden resonances, then learning to map those patterns could give us warning before disasters strike. If comets carry both destruction and creation, then understanding their cycles could reshape our understanding of life itself. If unexplained signals are indeed messages, whether from Earth, the cosmos, or something more, then decoding them could expand the boundaries of human knowledge in ways we cannot yet imagine. The edge of revelation is both a threat and an invitation. What we do with it determines whether we stumble into chaos or step into understanding. But the deeper we look, the more unsettling the picture becomes. The clustering of anomalies is accelerating. Earthquakes are rising in frequency, solar storms are becoming more intense, comets are appearing with strange behaviors, and unexplained signals are being recorded with growing regularity. None of this proves causation, but together it suggests momentum, as if we are being pulled toward a tipping point. Ancient prophecies spoke of trumpets, stars falling, and seas rising. Modern science speaks of cycles, resonances, and cataclysms. Different languages perhaps, but both pointing to the same conclusion. The present moment may not be stable. It may be transitional, a hinge between eras. Standing at this edge, humanity faces a choice. We can cling to old explanations, dismiss anomalies as coincidences, and retreat into the comfort of denial. Or we can accept that something larger may be unfolding, something that demands a new way of seeing. The danger of denial is that it leaves us unprepared. The danger of belief is that it can tip into fear. The challenge is to hold the tension, to acknowledge the patterns without succumbing to panic, to study the mysteries without silencing them. In that balance lies the possibility of transformation. The edge of revelation is not just about the Earth and cosmos. It is about us. How we respond will reveal more about our species than the anomalies themselves. Will we fracture under the weight of uncertainty? Or will we adapt? Will we dismiss the signs until catastrophe forces us to see? Or will we listen now when there is still time to act? These are not scientific questions alone, they are existential. They ask who we are in the face of the unknown, and whether we are capable of humility before forces greater than ourselves. Perhaps the most profound aspect of this edge is that it mirrors the human condition itself. Each of us lives balanced between certainty and mystery, between what we know and what we fear, the hum of the earth, the blaze of a comet, the tremor of a quake. These are reminders that life is never fully secure, that the illusion of permanence is fragile. Revelation is not an endpoint, but a reminder that the story is bigger than us, and always has been. We are standing at the edge, peering into a truth that feels both terrifying and exhilarating. The signs are converging, the patterns tightening, the mysteries pressing closer. Whether they are warnings of destruction, invitations to discovery, or both, they are undeniable. The edge of revelation is here. The only question left is whether we will step forward to face it, or retreat into the false comfort of coincidence, until the cycle makes the choice for us. Every era in human history reaches a crossroads, a point where choices determine not only the future of nations, but the destiny of civilization itself. Today, with the convergence of quakes, storms, comets, and signals pressing against the veil of mystery, we find ourselves at such a moment. It is not just a matter of interpreting strange phenomena, it is a question of who we are, what we value, and how we respond when the familiar scaffolding of certainty begins to crack. At the crossroads, humanity is confronted with paths that lead toward denial, collapse, or transformation, and the decisions we make now will echo far longer than the lifespan of our current generation. The first path is denial, and it is by far the easiest. Denial comforts us, telling us that nothing unusual is happening, that coincidences are just coincidences, that earth and sun, sky and ground are merely behaving as they always have. Denial dismisses the patterns as paranoia, reduces anomalies to statistical noise, and clings to the belief that science has everything under control. This path is attractive because it demands nothing from us. It allows business as usual, economies to churn, governments to promise stability, and individuals to carry on as though the earth were not rumbling beneath their feet and the sky were not flaring with unpredictable power. But denial comes with a cost. History shows that civilizations that refuse to acknowledge the signs of change often collapse when those changes can no longer be ignored. Ancient empires fell not only to external invasions or disasters, but to their inability to adapt to the warnings written in their own skies and soils. The second path is collapse, a plunge into fear and chaos. Collapse happens when anomalies are not dismissed, but exaggerated, when every unexplained sound is seen as doom, every comet as a harbinger, every quake as the beginning of the end. In this path, panic spreads faster than truth. Societies fracture as fear replaces reason, leaders lose credibility, and people turn on one another in search of scapegoats. Collapse feeds on speculation unchecked by discipline, on prophecy wielded as weapon, on hysteria that drowns out solutions. It is not the anomalies themselves that cause collapse, but our reaction to them, the inability to face uncertainty without disintegrating under its weight. If denial is blindness, collapse is frenzy, and both lead us toward ruin. But there is a third path, the most difficult yet the most hopeful: transformation. Transformation begins with humility, the recognition that we do not have all the answers, that our knowledge, though vast, is still limited, and that the mysteries pressing on us may be signals inviting us to expand our vision. This path requires courage to confront the unknown without retreating into denial or hysteria. It demands the discipline to study the patterns without forcing them into simplistic explanations, and the creativity to imagine responses that go beyond fear. Transformation does not mean mastering the forces of Earth and cosmos, but learning to live in resonance with them, to prepare for upheavals while also seeking the opportunities hidden within them. Transformation, however, is not a guarantee. It requires choices that run against the grain of human instinct. We crave certainty, and the unknown terrifies us. We prefer comfort, and preparation demands sacrifice. We resist change, and transformation is nothing but change. Yet if history teaches us anything, it is that survival belongs not to the strongest or even the smartest, but to the most adaptable. The crossroads we face is not just about interpreting quakes and comets. It is about whether humanity can adapt its mindset, its systems, and its soul to a reality that is shifting beneath its feet. One aspect of transformation is scientific. We must push beyond siloed disciplines and recognize the interconnectedness of Earth and sky. Seismologists cannot ignore solar physicists, astronomers cannot dismiss geologists, and governments cannot treat natural phenomena as isolated domains. The patterns demand integration, a new science that sees the planet not as separate parts but as a living whole, responsive to forces from the sun, the cosmos, and perhaps even beyond. Transformation means investing in monitoring systems that do more than record data. They interpret, synthesize, and predict. It means asking dangerous questions, Could a solar storm trigger a quake? Could a comet's passage influence atmospheric instability? Could the hum of the Earth be more than background noise? Only by daring to ask can we hope to prepare. Another aspect is cultural. Transformation requires a shift in how societies perceive themselves in relation to the Earth. For too long, humanity has treated the planet as a backdrop, a stage upon which our dramas unfold. We build cities as though the ground will never move, we drain resources as though they are infinite, and we act as though the cosmos beyond us is irrelevant. But the patterns remind us otherwise. Earth is not passive, it is active, restless, and intertwined with forces we cannot control. Transformation demands a cultural humility that sees ourselves not as masters of Earth, but as participants in its rhythms. Such humility could reshape education, politics, and even spirituality, teaching us to live not in domination, but in alignment with the cycles that sustain us. Spiritual transformation may be the most profound of all. For those who see the patterns as echoes of prophecy, the crossroads is framed as a moral choice. Will humanity continue down paths of greed, exploitation, and division, or will it turn toward unity, stewardship, and reverence? Even for those who do not share religious frameworks, the spiritual dimension cannot be ignored. The mysteries evoke awe, and awe demands reflection, whether one calls it divine warning, cosmic rhythm, or planetary resonance. The convergence of signs forces us to confront questions of meaning. What does it mean to be human in a universe that trembles and flares? What does it mean to live on a planet that hums with mystery? These are not just scientific inquiries, but existential ones, shaping how we see ourselves and our future. At the crossroads, there is also danger in delay. The longer we linger between denial and collapse, the less time remains for transformation. Each anomaly we dismiss or sensationalize is a missed opportunity to learn. Each pattern ignored or distorted is a step closer to being unprepared when the cycle tightens. The edge of revelation has already been reached. Now the choice of direction is ours. Will we retreat into blindness, fall into chaos, or step forward into understanding? The crossroads is not just global but personal. Every individual faces the same question: how do I respond to the unknown? Do I dismiss it to protect my comfort, or panic at every shadow? Or do I embrace it as a call to expand my awareness, to live with humility and courage? Humanity's collective future is built from these personal choices, multiplied across billions of lives. The crossroads is not a distant abstraction, it is here, in the way we think, speak, and act in the face of mystery. Ultimately, humanity at the crossroads is humanity exposed. Our strengths, our weaknesses, our fears, and our hopes laid bare by forces we cannot control. The patterns pressing upon us are not only signs of planetary unrest, but mirrors reflecting who we are, and in that reflection lies both warning and possibility. If we choose denial, we will be blindsided. If we choose collapse, we will destroy ourselves faster than nature ever could. But if we choose transformation, we may not only survive, but emerge into a new era of understanding, one in which we finally see the Earth not as backdrop or burden, but as partner, alive and resonant, carrying us through the cycles of mystery and revelation. The crossroads is here. The signs are converging. The choice is ours. When we speak of the future, we often do so with an air of certainty, as if tomorrow will arrive much like today, only slightly more advanced, slightly more connected, slightly more predictable. But if the patterns we have traced through earthquakes, solar storms, comets, unexplained signals, and the ever-present hum of Earth are anything to go by, then the future may not be smooth, linear, or predictable at all. Instead, it may unfold like a storm on the horizon, visible, undeniable, and yet impossible to fully anticipate until it breaks upon us. Standing here at the edge of revelation and at the crossroads of denial, collapse, and transformation, the one truth we cannot escape is that the future remains unknown, and in that unknown lies both the terror of uncertainty and the thrill of possibility. The unknown future is shaped not just by what happens to us, but by how we interpret and respond to the signs we encounter. If we choose to remain blind, to dismiss the converging signals as coincidence, then the future will arrive as shock, each event battering us with surprise, leaving us scrambling in its aftermath. If we fall into fear, exaggerating every anomaly as doom, then the future will be consumed by chaos long before the actual challenges strike. But if we embrace the unknown as a teacher, as a force that stretches us beyond complacency, then the future becomes not a threat, but a frontier, wild, dangerous, and full of potential discovery. Consider the acceleration of anomalies we are already witnessing. Earthquakes appearing in unusual regions, solar storms stronger than expected, their electromagnetic reach threatening satellites and grids, comets behaving erratically, some fragmenting into dazzling displays, others streaking through space with speeds that challenge our models, and overlaying it all, the eerie chorus of sounds and vibrations that science records but cannot fully explain. These are not distant possibilities, they are present realities. If the patterns continue to tighten, then the future will not be business as usual. It will be marked by more frequent disruptions, more frequent alignments, more moments when earth and sky seem to conspire in their unrest. And yet within this turbulence lies the possibility of insight. The unknown is not always hostile. It is also the source of discovery. The mysteries pressing on us today may in time yield answers that reshape our understanding of the cosmos. Perhaps the hum of Earth is not just noise but a key to its inner workings, a natural seismograph that could one day give us early warnings of disasters. Perhaps the timing of solar storms and quakes hides a pattern that, once decoded, could help predict when and where the ground will move. Perhaps comets are not random wanderers, but integral parts of a larger cycle that influences climate, evolution, and even the rhythms of civilization. Each unknown carries within it the seed of knowledge, if we have the courage to listen and the patience to learn. The unknown future also challenges us to confront our fragility. For all our technology, all our global networks, all our belief in progress, we remain vulnerable to forces beyond our control. A single solar storm could disable satellites, sever communications, and plunge modern society into chaos. A comet, even a small one, could devastate a region or alter the climate for years. An unforeseen quake or volcanic eruption could displace millions in days. The hum of the earth itself reminds us that beneath our feet lies a restless power, ancient and unyielding. To imagine that the future will remain calm is to ignore the lessons of both history and the present. Yet fragility does not mean doom. It means urgency, the need to prepare, to adapt, and to build resilience in the face of what we cannot predict. What makes the unknown future so compelling is not only the potential for upheaval, but the possibility of transformation. Every anomaly, every unexplained convergence, is an invitation to expand our perspective. They push us to ask deeper questions. What if the Earth is not merely a stage for life, but a participant in it? What if comets are not intruders but partners in the cycles of existence? What if the sun's storms are not random flares but part of a larger rhythm linking star and planet? These are not idle speculations. They are doorways into new ways of seeing. The unknown future is less about threats than about horizons we have not yet crossed, knowledge we have not yet claimed. Still, the unknown is not only a frontier, it is a mirror. It reflects back to us our fears, our hopes, our capacity for denial, and our hunger for meaning. When people hear sky trumpets, some think of prophecy, others of science, others of conspiracy. The phenomenon is the same, but the interpretations diverge, revealing more about us than about the sound itself. The same is true for comets, quakes, and flares. The unknown future will be shaped not only by the anomalies themselves, but by the stories we tell about them. If we tell stories of doom, we may create panic. If we tell stories of denial, we may invite catastrophe. But if we tell stories of resilience, curiosity, and wonder, then the unknown future may become not something to fear, but something to face with courage. At the heart of it all lies a paradox. The more we learn, the more mysterious the world becomes. Every explanation leads to deeper questions. Every solved riddle uncovers new puzzles. And perhaps that is the true revelation, that mystery is not a temporary condition to be conquered, but a permanent feature of existence. The unknown future is not a flaw in the design of reality. It is the design. It is what keeps us searching, questioning, evolving. It is what prevents us from stagnation. In this light, the converging patterns are not harbingers of doom, but reminders that the universe is alive, dynamic, and far larger than the scope of our current understanding. Yet we cannot escape the unease that lingers. The acceleration of anomalies feels urgent, as if a threshold is approaching. The hum grows louder, the flares grow stronger, the quakes strike unexpectedly, the comets behave strangely. Whether coincidence or convergence, the signs point to a future in which the line between normal and extraordinary may blur. Perhaps we are approaching a tipping point, a shift in cycles, a moment of reckoning, or a leap in understanding. Or perhaps the future will unfold in smaller waves of disruption, nudging us gradually toward new awareness. Either way, the unknown looms ahead, undeniable and unavoidable. The unknown future is not something to be predicted with certainty. The certainty is the illusion that blinds us. It is something to be prepared for, embraced and faced with humility. It calls us to let go of the false security of permanence and step into the reality of change. It asks us to recognize that Earth is alive, that the cosmos is not silent, and that our place within it is fragile, fleeting, and yet profoundly meaningful. To live in such a future is to live awake, to hear the hum beneath the noise, to see the patterns beneath the chaos, and to accept that mystery is not our enemy, but our greatest companion. As we stand here, peering into the horizon, we must ask ourselves, what do we choose to see? A future of collapse, marked by fear and denial, or a future of transformation, marked by curiosity and courage? The answer is not yet written. It lies in the choices we make, the stories we tell, and the resilience we cultivate. The unknown is coming, whether we fear it or not, and when it arrives, it will reveal not only the secrets of earth and sky, but the truth of who we really are. In the end, the story of Earth and the cosmos is not one of certainty but of mystery. We began by examining the scattered anomalies, earthquakes trembling in unexpected places, solar storms bursting with a ferocity that seemed to reach beyond the sun, comets blazing brighter than logic allowed, and strange hums and trumpets echoing through the skies. Each one, taken alone, could be dismissed, explained away, or shelved for later study. But together they formed a picture too striking to ignore. A picture of connections, of alignments, of a planet and a star, perhaps even a universe, speaking in rhythms we have not yet learned to interpret. What emerges from this story is not an answer but a challenge. Are we willing to see the patterns for what they might be? Are we willing to accept that the systems we once believed to be separate, tectonic plates deep underground, solar flares bursting millions of miles away, celestial wanderers streaking through the void, may in fact be part of a single conversation, one that transcends the categories we have built to keep reality manageable? The mysteries do not demand our fear, they demand our attention. They ask us to look closer, to listen deeper, to admit that the earth beneath us and the skies above us are not passive backdrops, but active participants in a story far greater than our own. And yet, for all our instruments and data, for all our theories and speculations, the truth remains elusive. The hum continues, steady and unresolved. The quakes strike without warning. The sun flares without pattern. Comets appear unannounced. We are reminded again and again that knowledge is not mastery, that prediction is not control. The future, as we have seen, remains unknown, and in that unknown lies both danger and wonder. It is a future that can shake us, humble us, even terrify us, but it can also teach us, expand us, and draw us closer to the profound realization that we are part of a living resonant system whose full scope is beyond imagination. This conclusion is not the end of the mystery. It is the beginning of a new way of seeing. We can choose to dismiss the anomalies and retreat into denial, clinging to the illusion of stability until it shatters around us. We can surrender to fear, weaving every unexplained sound into a prophecy of doom. Or we can take the harder path, the path of transformation, a path that requires humility, courage, and the willingness to live with uncertainty. A path that embraces the unknown not as a threat, but as an invitation, a reminder that mystery is not the absence of meaning, but its deepest source. As we close this journey, we are left with a truth that is both unsettling and liberating. We do not know what is coming. The signs are converging, the patterns tightening, the mysteries deepening. Perhaps they herald disaster, perhaps revelation, perhaps both. But in either case, the choice is not whether the unknown will arrive. It already has. The choice is how we will meet it, with fear or with courage, with denial or with curiosity, with collapse or with transformation. The earth hums, the sun flares, the cosmos watches, and we, small yet significant, stand here at the threshold, reminded that the greatest story ever told is still unfolding, and that our role in it is not to control but to listen, to adapt, and to wonder.